General Hospital Spoilers. Tracy faints after Monica's while reading at her funeral. Quartermaine shockwaves rock Port Charles. Monica Quartermaine was the anchor of the Quartermaine family for decades. A mother, a healer, and a formidable matriarch who somehow managed to hold together the dysfunctional, warring clan through deaths, betrayals, corporate battles, and tragedies. But with Monica's passing, a new storm has brewed in Port Charles. One so explosive it threatens to fracture the Quartermaines forever. And it all begins at her funeral, with the lawyer's voice echoing through the Quartermaine mansion, a will that no one expected, and Tracy Quartermaine fainting in front of her stunned family. This is the moment that changes everything. Monica's funeral was everything she deserved and more. Held in the chapel at General Hospital, it was packed with doctors, nurses, former patients, friends, and of course, the sprawling Quartermaine family. The air was thick with grief. Elizabeth Weber sat in the front pew with Jake and Aiden, her eyes brimming with tears as she remembered the woman who had guided her through so many storms. Epiphany's absence was palpable, another GH legend gone too soon, but Port Charles's medical staff stood together in solidarity. Ned Ashton, still recovering from his Eddie Main detour, delivered a moving eulogy. His voice broke as he described Monica's resilience after Alan's death, her devotion to her patients, and her never-ending fight to protect the family, even when they didn't deserve it. Monica loved fiercely, Ned said, gripping Olivia's hand. She fought for us, even when we gave her every reason not to. She forgave, she endured, and she reminded us, time and time again, that no matter how dysfunctional we were still a family. Jason Morgan, stoic as ever, stood silently near the back, his jaw clenched, his grief unreadable to most. But Carly, who slipped her hand into his, knew exactly what he was feeling. Monica had been his mother, his tether, his last real connection to Alan. Even Tracy, dressed in her signature pearls and a sharp black suit, looked shaken. Though her relationship with Monica had been thorny, filled with power struggles, bitter words, and grudging truces, there was no denying that Monica had been the last of the great Quartermaine anchors. The funeral also brought back familiar faces. Brooke Lynn sang a heart-wrenching rendition of Ave Maria that left the room in tears. Skye Chandler made a rare appearance, her eyes red, clutching her daughter Lila Ray. Dylan Quartermaine returned from Los Angeles, visibly shaken by the loss of his stepmother figure. But the biggest surprise was the arrival of Maya Ward, who flew in from Philadelphia. Maya had always admired Monica's brilliance as a doctor and matriarch. She took her seat beside Brooke Lynn, ready to face the storm she sensed was coming. After the service, the mourners gathered at the Quartermaine mansion for the traditional reception. Champagne and canapés sat untouched as the family sat in a tense circle, waiting for the lawyer's arrival. Monica had made a very specific request. Her will was not to be read in a stuffy office, but rather in her home, in front of the family she spent her life trying to hold together. When the lawyer, Mr. Simon Rourke, arrived with his briefcase, the room fell silent. The crackling of the fireplace and the ticking of Edward's old grandfather clock were the only sounds. Mrs. Quartermaine left very clear instructions, Simon said, adjusting his glasses. She wanted all of you present. No one is excused. Her words, not mine. That was when Jason stepped forward, his voice low. I'll stay. Tracy arched an eyebrow, her tone sharp even through her grief. Of course you will. Monica always treated you like the golden boy, didn't she? Carly bristled, but Jason squeezed her hand, signaling her to let it go. The stage was set for battle. Simon opened the will, his voice steady as he began reading Monica's carefully prepared statement. To my family, if you're hearing this, it means I've gone on to join Alan, Emily, AJ, and the rest of the loved ones we've lost. Don't fight, I know you will anyway, but at least try to listen before the chaos begins. Nervous chuckles rippled through the room. Then came the revelations. Monica left General Hospital's endowment fund a sizable donation in Alan's name. She left Elizabeth Weber a trust for her children's education, citing Liz's loyalty and devotion over the years. I leave this to Elizabeth, Monica's voice said in the recorded video Simon played, because she represents what this family should always be: resilient, compassionate, and dedicated to healing. Liz broke down in tears. Then came Jason. To Jason, my son, I leave you my heart, and also the keys to this house. You may not want them, but they're yours. You'll always be my son. The room gasped. Jason looked down, stunned, while Sam and Carly exchanged looks. Tracy's lips pressed into a thin line. But the real bombshell came next. Monica's voice turned sharper. To Tracy Quartermain's sister-in-law, adversary, and in some ways, my oldest companion in this house. You and I fought for control of this family for years. You schemed, I schemed. But in the end, Tracy, I realized something. You always wanted power more than love. And I refused to let the family fall into your hands. Gasps filled the room. Monica continued. Therefore, I am leaving Yelku shares not to you, Tracy, but to Drew Kane. The silence was deafening. Tracy shot up from her chair, her face drained of color. What? Simon kept reading. I know Drew isn't Alan's biological son, but he carries Alan's courage, Alan's integrity, and Alan's drive. Yelku deserves leadership that puts family above greed. Tracy staggered. Olivia rushed to her side, but Tracy shoved her off. This is outrageous. Monica's mind was compromised. Drew? Drew over me? Her voice cracked with fury and desperation. Before anyone could stop her, Tracy swayed and collapsed to the floor. Chaos erupted. Olivia screamed for help. Jason rushed to his aunt's side while Ned called 911. Brooklyn knelt beside her grandmother, tears streaming down her face. She's not breathing right, Brooke cried. Paramedics arrived within minutes, whisking Tracy to GH as the family scrambled in panic. The reception turned into a war zone of accusations and whispers. Monica knew exactly what she was doing, Drew said, shaken. She wanted me to carry on for her. Tracy's sons, Ned and Dylan, were torn between outrage and disbelief. This will tear the company apart, Ned muttered. The next days in Port Charles were consumed by fallout. Tracy survived but was weakened, her pride wounded even more than her body. She vowed to contest the will. This isn't over, she spat from her hospital bed. Monica may be gone, but I will not let her humiliate me from beyond the grave. Drew, meanwhile, wrestled with the burden of responsibility. Yelku was now his to lead, but with Carly pushing him on one side, Ned bristling on the other, and Tracy sharpening her claws, he knew the war was just beginning. Jason stayed quiet, but Carly saw the storm brewing in his eyes. The Quartermain world had always rejected him, except Monica. And now her last act might force him into a fight he never wanted. But Monica's will wasn't finished. The lawyer revealed there was one sealed envelope, not yet to be opened. Monica had left a final letter, but with instructions. It could only be read when the family reaches its breaking point. That cryptic clue left everyone shaken. What could Monica have left behind that was too explosive to reveal now? Could it involve Alan's past? Emily's death? AJ's struggles? Or perhaps a secret child? One thing was certain. Monica's departure was not the end of the Quartermain saga. It was only the beginning. Tracy's fainting spell at the will reading will go down in GH history as one of the soap's most jaw-dropping moments. But in true Quartermain fashion, Monica's death has not brought peace. It has sparked a new war, one that will pit brother against brother, cousin against cousin, and Jason against the very family he never wanted to claim. And through it all, Monica's voice will echo, reminding them of what truly matters, even as her final secrets threaten to destroy them all.